aligned to standards. We're going to have assessments and frameworks that are aligned to the instructional supports that you leverage in your classroom. We also are publishing fiction now at the original reading level. We're beginning to dabble in videos, so you're going to find about 3 videos available now. And I don't know if I already said this, but about 20% of everything you're going to find on Newsela is also in Spanish. So it's a really great place to go ahead and partner when considering distance learning. This is from Nicole. I'm going to go ahead and give her a couple seconds to go ahead and just share this.
Sure, I'll be really brief, and I definitely appreciate all the teachers. I know today's Principals Day, so if there are any principals, happy Principals Day, but happy early Teacher Appreciation Week next week. So exciting stuff. Definitely appreciate all you do. I just wanted to make sure that you all know, I know you've been using Newsela, but we did roll out before all of this started. In January, we launched Newsela ELA, Science, and Social Studies. So you have access to all of those to use cross-curricularly to really promote disciplinary literacy. In addition to that, you have access to the SEL collection, which I think we all know is really important at this time. And the SEL collection is really intended to be embedded into any of the lessons, so can really be used throughout. And a few things just to point out in terms of Newsela. Hopefully you find it to be flexible. We know that distance learning is different, and this is a totally different environment. And I have 2 kids at home. So in addition to my role in marketing at Newsela, I have also had to learn to be a teacher to my children. And, they have access to several different platforms with content, and some are better at adapting to distance learning than others. And I think that hopefully you'll find Newsela has been adaptable for distance learning and can really be used in any setting. So we really believe that flexibility is important. We also believe equity is important. And so you may have seen you're able to bulk print all the articles, and they're available online and offline. And in addition to that, accessibility. So being able, as you know, you can, there are 5 different reading levels, and we're working on some really exciting ways to be able to help you when it comes time for the fall and students are coming back with learning gaps, have access to content that, maybe you're teaching 4th grade, but maybe you need to pull in 3rd grade content. So we're doing some really, some exciting things coming up. But wanted to make sure that to Alexa's point, we have a lot of resources available for distance learning. So that support.newsela.com at our Educator Center link is great. If you have questions after this, we're doing office hours and other ongoing PD sessions. So that's a good link to have for any follow-up.
Awesome.
Alexa,
Nicole, can you share that link just in case?
Sure.
If teachers don't have access to those products, can you just drop? So our focus question, I'm going to go ahead and just stay in this view just for a quick bit. But our focus question for today is going to be, how can you build routines to support self-paced learning? And specifically, how does Newsela help you build those routines to support self-paced learning? Everything I show you today is going to be covering our distance learning resources, and I'm going to share with you just some teacher tricks that I use in my classroom and hoping that you find them useful. I'm going to go.
Alexa, just a question. You're going to get annoyed with me jumping in, but so the things that you're showing here on this presentation, there will be either, will you show us where they are on Newsela Online, or will you kind of guide us, because sometimes and I've done it myself, gone through a PowerPoint presentation, show all these great things, and an hour later, people are like, where do I get this stuff? So I think just trying to keep that in mind too, that this is new to us, the new resource package.
Yes, so I'm actually not going to stay on the deck. I'm just going to prompt some questions. Yeah, we're going to go live. You kind of have to. So right now I just shared with you in the chat a Padlet. I'm going to open this up right now. My goal is when I go to a PD, I want to leave with something as a teacher, but I also know that I'm in the presence of really amazing educators. So this is what you should see in the chat. I want you to go ahead and take about a minute or two and just share the answer to number 1. What's a routine that you're currently doing in your classroom? This is going to stay with you after, so you can all get inspired. But share something you're doing. Are you doing lunch meetings? Are you doing read alouds? Are you doing Minecraft sessions? So you're going to go ahead and press that plus button and then go ahead and be able to share. Kahoots, awesome. Connecting daily with staff, awesome. Padlet. Okay. An assignment and essay prompt, awesome. Very cool. Fun routines. Morning greetings and check-ins, awesome. Meets, awesome. Social media, that's a great one. Oh, I love that keeping your meetings at the same time. So kids don't have to guess when they need to come in. They just know that you're going to be there at that time. That's simple, but very powerful. Okay, I know we have so many more ideas, but I'm going to go ahead and just move on for our purpose for today. This is going to stay with you. We're going to add on to this after I share with you Newsela. Okay, so I'm going to put my screen in full view. We should be good to go. When you log into Newsela, this is what you're going to find. Our focus is going to be strictly distance learning resources. I'm going to scroll down because I want to bring your attention to Spanish articles. If you're looking for Spanish content, it's going to be at the very bottom of the front page. Also, too, you're going to have access to teacher text sets right here. These text sets are groups of articles around a particular theme or topic. They are made by teachers. They are made by Newsela staff. And you have the ability to make them yourself as well. I'm going to click into this one, Newsela Social Studies Pandemics, because it's a timely topic right now, just so you can get a little preview of what text sets are. These are a really powerful way to go ahead and provide choice for your students. So if you're learning about pandemics, for instance, you can have your students choose one of the many articles to be able to engage in a research question that you are conducting or a lesson that you're conducting. So this is an example of a text set. I do want to point out that Newsela has a free student app. Kids can make their own sets. Why this is powerful is because it's a fun way to get kids to just begin to save articles that they enjoy to read, to foster their literacy, as well as a fun way to assess their understanding. For example, if you are doing a character study, you could invite your students to find texts from Newsela that demonstrate details of the character, and they can submit their text set to you. So it's a fun, powerful way. As Nicole mentioned earlier, you have the ability to print everything that you're seeing on Newsela. We're going to have links available for you to leverage, but if you see this print button here, you have the ability to print it at a particular grade level. Why this is powerful is because not only can you post this on Google Classroom for easy access for kids that need to work offline. By the way, the Newsela app works offline for students. But also, too, this is something that you can send in a parent email. Let them know what are their kids reading and invite them to engage in a shared reading experience with their students as well. Okay, I'm going to go back to the home page and let's go a little bit deeper. So we know what we can find on the front page. I also want to bring your attention to our banner. That's going to let you know what's going on in the life of Newsela. So check this place out if you're looking for PD and brand new resources that we're releasing. So it'll direct you to the Educator Center. Where can you go to find content for distance learning? Everywhere, but I'm going to bring your attention to a few places first. If you hover over your content, you're going to have the ability to see the social emotional learning collection for each grade band. This is really powerful because we know that right now is a very important time for us to be fostering a socially and emotionally healthy classroom for our kids. Our collection is aligned to the CASEL competencies, which has been revered in the field as a leader in their craft. They've done decades of research and well respected. So it's powerful that this is aligned here. I want to bring your attention to the social emotional learning for social distancing section, which is also accessible right here. What's nice about this is that you're going to have instructions for caregivers and instructions for readers. So it's a low lift for you as a teacher to go ahead and use, but it's also flexible enough for you to go ahead and shift to meet the needs of your students. Anything that is bolded and underlined is going to link out. We have this for grade band. So these are going to be unique for each grade band. But this is a powerful tool that you can use, especially this emotion tracker, that you can leverage with your students. I'm going to bring your attention to, in this social distancing collection, I'm going to go ahead and I can find it again on the front page, or I can access it right here on the left-hand navigation. I'm going to bring your
left-hand navigation stay for every screen.
Yes, it's going to be unique to each subject that you're in, though.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and bring your attention to a few things that I think you might find useful. Right here, keeping in touch with my friends. Remember, I told you I would share some routines you could possibly do. So right here, again, it's kind of like a text set. You have a variety of texts for choice. This is something, if you do morning meetings or lunch check-ins, I want to invite you to consider leveraging this one. Perhaps assign this over the course of 2 weeks and have kids share on like Google Classroom, like how do they keep in touch with their friends? Or maybe share in this particular section, keeping in touch with friends. You can learn how to do doodles with Mo Williams, who's a sketch artist. And then you can also be inspired by how other people are keeping in touch with friends here. Also, within the social emotional learning collection, every article you find is going to have a lesson spark, which is going to be an instructional support for you as a teacher. So we're going to have it underneath activities. For some reason, that's not showing it. We're being a little buggy lately, but if you discover a little thumbtack, that means that you've uncovered a lesson spark. And that lesson spark is going to provide you with activities for before, here we go, before, during, and after a reading experience. So it's going to provide you right here with just like inspiration of, hey, if you want, this is a lesson you can implement, or you have the ability to tweak it as you wish. So that thumbtack is not exclusive to the SEL collection. You're going to find it embedded throughout Newsela, but wanted to point that out to you. Okay. Also, I want to bring your attention to another section you might find useful within the SEL collection. I'm in high school right now, but it's going to be handling stress and anxiety. This is, again, something that you can bulk print. I would invite you, especially with the SEL collection, to send all of these articles home with parents so they can have meaningful conversations with their kids at home and have real strategies on how to support their stress and anxiety. I want to invite you, if you leverage this in your classroom, maybe consider having kids share out over a course of maybe 2 weeks of, hey, this is a stress tip that's working for me, and just kind of help build camaraderie, and then also share, like remind them that that's important for you and you want to make sure they have healthy practices to de-stress. So SEL is covered. Let's go ahead and check out resources in social studies. So in social studies,
just a reminder, if people have questions or if Alexa's going too quick or if you want to slow down, just throw something in the chat, unmute yourself and say, I have a question, whatever you need. She knows how to do this. So we're trying to help all of us, and me too, I'm learning on the spot. So if you have questions, throw it in the chat or jump in.
Would it be like a good use of our time if I am able to pause? I know that like we don't have too much time, but I'd love to pause and just reflect. Does anyone have questions on the SEL collection? Or maybe is there a tip that you were inspired, like, hey, I'm going to try this, or hey, I want to remix it and do this in my class? Let's see if there's anything in the chat. Okay, not yet. I hope that that makes sense and is helpful for you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and jump into social studies now. So for social studies, for science, and for ELA, these are going to all have a very similar flow when you're on the landing page. I'm going to scroll down so you can get a little preview of what this looks like. What's powerful about this is that we're going to have assessments and frameworks that are aligned to standards that you care most about. I'm going to go ahead and scroll up now, and I'm going to bring your attention to the left-hand navigation tab. Remember, I shared that this is going to be exclusive to each section that you're in, each product you're in. I'm going to scroll down just to bring your attention to the Explore Articles section. So if you're looking for primary sources, this is a really great place to check out. This might be a routine that you want to begin to implement in your classroom, where you are investigating primary sources each week. Also, I'm going to go back. And I do want to bring your attention as well as, so I'm starting at the bottom, I'm going all the way back up. If you use any of these curricula in your classroom, check this out. This is meant to support you. So for instance, I use Big History Project in my classroom. You might find some of these sections helpful to support you. I'm going to scroll all the way back up, and I want to bring your attention to these collections here. So, few things to keep in mind. Document-based questions. Again, this is something that you can pair with anything in the social studies collection. My personal favorite is to pair this with the primary sources that I shared with you. Maybe consider having like an Investigating Tuesday, where you're going over these documents and taking a look at the directions that we have available for you. Again, everything we have is going to have directions and instructional supports, but you have the ability to be flexible with it if you wish. Anything that's linked is going to take you to another place. So here is a background article analysis document to support your efforts. And again, something you can send in an email to parents so they can better support their kids at home. Okay. Also, going all the way back, I want to bring your attention to the virtual museum tours. This is a fun way to get your kids exposed to museums around them. I have no idea why this is happening. But you have the ability to go ahead and visit museums right at your fingertip on this navigation tab. So I want to invite you to consider maybe you make a certain day of the week where you're going to visit a virtual museum. Perhaps you invite your kids to do a little bit of research on the artists that they learned about, and then maybe get inspired to build or create art that they saw. So this could be an easy routine that you implement in your practice. Again, we're going to have directions here for you. We're going to have exhibitions that you can choose from, worksheets that you can pair, as well as directions that you can just copy and paste into making an assignment. Also, I love in social studies, you're going to find summative and formative assessments and projects. This is just an example here. So this is an example of taking the time to go ahead and reflect on the people that they learned about. My screen is zoomed in so you can see it a little bit easier. And then giving them the ability to create like an interview or a biography or a journal entry of that. Also, every section is going to have a social studies, or it's going to have a distance learning. In this case, it's going to be social studies distance learning. So what's powerful about this, again, is that I have no idea why my screen is doing that. I apologize. We're going to have PDF instructions for these lessons, as well as student-facing directions. So this is something that you can direct your students to, or you can go ahead and leverage. Also, everything here is going to be parent and caregiver friendly. So you're going to have the ability to share this with their caregivers and just let them know, hey, this is what we're working on, so they can better support. So I'm going to go ahead and just click see more just so you can take a look at it. And I'm going to scroll down. If I go to see more, I'm going to have all of those PDF instructions. So it's going to be exclusive to each section. I'm going to click into one just so you can kind of get a little preview of what that looks like.
Alexa, can you share these with parents?
Absolutely. So these are all PDFs that are on the screen. Download these and share them with parents or upload them to Google Classroom, but these are meant to support your instruction.
Okay.
Also, do you see this share button here? You can easily share this too, this link. So if you share it with the intention, like this particular landing page to parents, I would invite you to make sure that you remind them they need to log in through their student account, through their child's account to be able to access this. If you send the PDFs, they don't need any login. They're just going to be able to see that PDF. Okay, before I move on, I'm going to pause here. Do I have any questions about social studies?
And before you move on, is this a time that I can have some of our teachers jump in? I didn't know where you were in your progression.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
So, and because we're talking social studies, Kim, and we were just talking about high school, do you want to share kind of some of the ways you've been using this tool during this time, and let Alexa catch her breath and grab a drink, and we'll jump back in with her in a minute.
Yeah, sure. I apologize. My Wi-Fi must be a little limited today because I attempted to try to open Newsela in another tab on this Chromebook, and so that I could show you like some of the things that I've done with my classes, and it's just not cooperating. So
okay.
But
Can you explain it?
I'm sorry?
Can you explain it?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I just like to show rather than, but
I know.
So thank you, Alexa. I appreciate that. You know, I just learned something new from you, and I just wanted to point out that the virtual museum is a really cool option. I want to like dive a little bit deeper into that, as we say, because I usually rely on the Google Arts and Culture website for that kind of stuff, and they're always changing and stuff. So that's, you know, that's a good resource for me, but this just adds like one more option into the choice board. So that's really cool. I think, you know, the part that I like a lot with Newsela is we, as a ninth grade world history teacher, we are constantly trying to have them really examine and understand the text that is in front of them, right? And so we work on the literacy standards that ELA pushes as well, on annotating. And it's one thing to do annotations by hand that we all have done for years and years, and that our students still know how to do, but it's a different beast to try to attack it online. And I love the functionality that Newsela offers for that. And I love that you on our, I have to look at the specific terms so that I use your stuff right, but under the binder tab and under the assignments, right, I have the ability to see right there, you know, what my students have done and what they've produced for in terms of those. So I love that. And it also, like, because you have the timed version, I have high school kids, right? So I can call their bluff when I'm like, you know, you spent 2 minutes on this article. Like, I'm a fast reader and I can't even read it in 2 minutes. And they're like, what are you talking? And I'm like, I have all the info. What are you doing? Like, let's try again, you know? So those are all like really practical, helpful pieces for me. I think if I was to throw out, is that kind of where we were going, Matt? Is that?
Yeah,
like,
just some of the things that you've been using, and then I'm going to throw it to Heather, and I have an.
Yeah. I mean, all of that stuff's really great. The tech sets, I'm looking forward to seeing more of those. I love that that Newsela commits to building more and more, you know, so it kind of only gets better from a history perspective. And the only concern that I would have, that maybe that fits in a different time and we can like table it, but kind of advice or suggestions for those students who's in the Newsela model, the goal is for like student driven reading, right? And like they start at a level and then you guys see how they do. and then the program, you know, moves them up and bumps them up to the level that they should. That's why we have that. I have found from a ninth grader perspective that they try to then go into the third and fifth grade reading level and some of my kids may be at that level realistically, and that's okay. But most of my kids are not. So then I find that I have to set it at a higher level, but they're smart and they figured out that once they go through it once, they can go back and try a different one. And all of it's in there, you know, like all of that is available to us to be able to see, hey, Johnny started at this level and spent a second on it and then moved down 3 levels and spent a minute and then moved, you know? So I'm just curious, like I love this. I'm so thankful that the district is supporting this. I appreciate your time, but perhaps later we could talk about that because that's still a struggle.
I have a super short hack for you with that. My students struggled with that as well because they're 4-point question quizzes. They would just kind of go through them. If I can share my screen really quick, I want to show you. You can print out the article, the quiz, and the quiz answers. What I started doing, I'm just going to click this article just for an example. What I started doing is printing out, which is that print button, the article, quiz, and answers. And I didn't use multiple choice quizzes for a while. I would give them the answers, and then I would have them go into the text and find text evidence to support why this answer was correct. I found that kids were really intentional when they had to write short answer responses, but just would skim through with the multiple choice questions. So me giving them the answers made them realize that I don't care about the quiz score. And then also that it's the same practice of a short answer. You need to find text evidence, except that text evidence is in here.
I like I love that you're citing the evidence that way. That makes sense. And that ties back in with what this tool, the most important part for me is the annotations. You know, like what are you going to be able to take away from this? Because you're not going to have time to read. As a history learner, you can't read the 400 pages every single time as you progress, you know? So we just want to make sure that they are identifying the main point and that they are able to supply it with sufficient evidence to support that. So I can try that. That's good. I usually just pull them up to my desk and I'm like, no.
Or flip it. Like instead of printing it out, since we're doing distance learning, have them like just go find the answers, and then the annotations they make are annotations answering those questions.
Yeah, I like that.
Another way too.
I mean, part of the bonus of Newsela, right, is that it's virtual. So it's nice to not have to cut down so many trees. And our district is, you know, pays close attention to those numbers. So not super close, but like they tell us how many copies we make. So all right, thank you.
If I could jump in real quick, there's a couple questions in the chat that people have that I don't know if they've been answered yet. So Paula wants to know, are our worksheets geared by the 5 reading levels?
I think that question, Paula, are you meaning that like the worksheets are differentiated, like the instructions? If that's the question, no. We try to make them as simple as possible. You'll notice on the worksheets, there's not a lot of words, just phrases to kind of make sure everyone has access to that. Also, there's a question about assigning an article for just a couple of students rather than an entire class. There's not. However, if you leverage Google Classroom, you can go ahead and share it with that share arrow. And on Google Classroom, I'm pretty sure you can pick the kids you want that assignment to go to.
You can.
So only those kids would be directed to go back to Newsela to read that.
Yeah, so you could have like, I love that too. I forgot to say that, but you can have multiple assignments in Newsela's port, right? And in Classroom, you just specify the students and they have no idea, you know, that, you know, Johnny's got the 7th grade reading level and Kara's got, you know, 9th grade.
Exactly. Awesome.
Also, Alexa, before we leave, I had a question from Rigo, but it was more about just some programming things that I wanted to just run by you before we left and had him on the phone.
Yeah, sure.
The video. All right, I want Heather to jump in as a middle school ELA teacher, kind of how they're using some of the programming there.
So I would echo a lot of the things that Kim had mentioned as far as the annotations. I am using them a little bit differently in that I am annotating the article before I assign it. So, and just putting some ideas for students to think about as they're reading the article. So sort of those areas where they would need to stop and question, or if it was something that I was reading with them, I would stop and question at that area. So getting them to do some critical thinking while they're reading, and then moving on to taking the quiz or doing the short answer. I have been building my own text sets. So not that the text sets that Newsela builds aren't great or other teachers build aren't great, but I've been making them a little bit more streamlined for my students. So I assign everybody one article that everybody has to read, and then they get to choose from the other three their second article. So typically I try to have them read at least 2 articles when I assign a text set.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I had one of our elementary teachers share, Donna McCann's had her students doing some outdoor programming. She actually had them building like waterways and different pieces of working out in nature, and really coming from an article talking about dams in Newsela. So it really started with Newsela. I know we talk a lot about screen time and computers, and are the kids just sitting in front of computers, but she had them identify key details in the text, and they talked about unfamiliar vocabulary and moved into the writing prompts and did end up with the comprehension quizzes. But what came from that is then the students going outside and mimicking that article outside, doing some distance learning without any computers, without Newsela. But that was the spark that got the project-based learning and used it as an extension for that. And it was really cool. She shared some pictures with me of the kids building dams, and it was really impactful coming from that. So we have about 13 minutes left, and I wanted to turn it back over to Alexa for some of the other features, make sure we capitalize on that. And if you have questions, jump in and ask away. Before we do that, one last thing. I wanted to show this. I'm going to share my screen for a second. So Donna shared the photos of, and just like anything else, photos speak volumes, and seeing these students outside during this time and building something and working through waterways and dams. And this stemmed from articles and work that they did on Newsela. So I want to make sure we always aren't thinking it's just one way kids log in and do that. The extension activities are another great way to really push their thinking and utilize the tool. So those are just a few different examples across grade levels. And then I'm going to turn it back over to you, Alexa, to wrap it up.
Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. I hope this works out. Success? Okay. So we talked about SEL and social studies. I'm going to go ahead and cover science, ELA, and then our distance learning tab. For science, this is a powerful place to check out. We're going to have experiments, PBLs, assessments aligned to frameworks that you care most about, as well as the quizzes are going to be aligned to science standards as well. So that's powerful. I'm going to scroll down just so you can get a little preview of what you can see. I love the easy experiment section as well as the think like a scientist. Scrolling down for you. Okay, I'm going to go back up to the very top, and I'm going to bring your attention to the left-hand navigation tab. If I scroll all the way down, if you're looking for math connections, this is a really great place to check out just how to bring in mathematics and science and keep that authentic in your classroom, as well as other articles below. If you use any of these curricula, so for me, I use Mystery Science, you can leverage these supports here for you. And then in collections, which is where I'm going to focus on, I want to bring your attention to a couple things. Exploring data is a really fun way to get kids practicing mathematics and science in an authentic way. So for instance, everything here, again, is going to have like directions, supplies, instructions that you can leverage. I love the data set that we have available. This is going to link out again. So this is really neat. So you could make like a exploring data day. Maybe Thursday could be your data day, where kids are engaging in data in authentic ways. And then they're going to have background information to support them as well. And we have an overview to help support you as you do this as well. So just scrolling down, seeing a little preview of what that is and what that looks like. A fun project that you could leverage. I'm going to scroll back. And I want to bring to your attention under the science distance learning section, a few places. The at-home STEAM projects are going to have a supply list, instruction list, and supporting articles that students can go and begin to work on their own experiments at home. So if you do like a scientist of the week in your classroom, for example, this would be a fun practice to use. So a scientist of the week is where you have a student pick an experiment that they want to share with their class. It could be done virtually, and then explain the science behind it. So here you're going to have some background information to help support students in like the why of this experiment. I personally love the binary code bracelets. It's practicing coding, making a bracelet, and then giving it away to someone that you care about. So it's like practicing SEL and coding, which is super fun. We also have virtual field trips that students can take. So that's again under the distance learning resources. So maybe consider like one day of the week, you guys will always go and visit a certain place around the world. So what's really neat about this is that I'm going to click San Diego Zoo because I'm in San Diego. We have articles to support students to help them understand like what goes in, what's going on in this particular area that we're going to check out. And we're going to have links to live webcams and excursions that kids can check out. So I love the Baby Elephants live cam. This is super fun and a cool way to get your kids exposed to the world around them, even though they're inside. The Everyday Mysteries section as well is a fun place to just get your kids like working on science and considering like, why are these things happening? So maybe this might be a fun routine you want to begin to implement in your class. Like every one day of the week, you're working on a mystery. And you have choice of what students can read, and we're going to have supports that you can leverage as well. So I'm going to go to ELA now. So again, a similar structure in regards to like the way the page looks. These are going to be aligned to ELA standards, and we are also going to have fiction content here. So I'm going to scroll down. This is a fun place to direct your kids. So hey, like, I don't know what to do, or if a parent says, my child doesn't know what to do, maybe direct them here to this section. If you use Pear Deck or Nearpod, we have external links that are student-paced learning right at their fingertips. If you're looking for research projects broken apart by grade band, check those out here. I love, as well, I'm going to just scroll down. Right here on the left-hand tab, I'm going to scroll all the way down. I love the fiction content that we have. If you're looking for read alouds, check them out here. Also, if you are thinking about how can you like foster relationships at home, maybe direct parents to this and have them print out these articles and have them engage in a reading experience with their child at home. Or this is something that you can share as well. We also have historical fiction too for social studies teachers that want to go ahead and leverage that. If you're using any of these curricula, like I use Lucy Calkins, you can check them out here. And then up at the top, I'm going to bring your attention to a few things. If you want to institute like debates in your virtual meetings, this is a great place to check out, and it's broken apart by grade band, so elementary, middle, and high school. Also, we're going to have resources for equity learning, which is powerful. So we have SPED resources, emergent reader resources, as well as resources for ELLs. So that's a great place to explore. If you're looking to foster, again, more routines, the distance learning place is a great place to check out. So I love this Let's Write section because it provides students with authentic ways to just like start writing, like go write a letter, create a haiku, and we're gonna carefully guide them. These are other sections that we have here. I love the Let's Dive into Fiction. Everything for distance learning is gonna have parent and caregiver notes that you can leverage as well. Okay, questions before I move on to distance learning, the distance learning tab. Let me see. Yes, there are some science articles in Spanish. Okay. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and go back to our distance learning. So we covered SEL, Social Studies, Science, ELA. Distance learning is going to be like your one-stop shop. You're going to be able to find book clubs here for kids for elementary, middle, and high school, as well as external links that are going to help support learning. I want to bring your attention to probably the most powerful section we have here, which are these daily lessons. So these daily lessons are for elementary, middle, and high school. Each week, we're going to publish a daily lesson for 5 days. It's going to cover ELA, science, social studies, and like a mindfulness section. So this is what it looks like. I'm just going to scroll down, and I'm going to bring your attention to a few things. You're going to have, let's go into week 1, for instance. You're going to have printable lessons that you can go ahead and send home if you would like, or upload this to Classroom. What's powerful is that this gives parents an overview of what to expect for their child's day and how to support them as well. So this can help keep students accountable. Also, this student checklist is a nice way to help students track their progress. And this is something that you can leverage to make goals for their learning. So if I'm in week 1, I'm going to click day 5 just for kicks and giggles. And I want to bring your attention to like, what does this look like? So here you're going to have directions that we've already curated for you and articles to support this work. If you like what you see, you have the ability to just copy all of these directions and then create an assignment, like paste those directions in there. You can also print this as well. You can also share this as well. So this is designed to support you as a teacher, but also you have the flexibility to edit it and shift as you wish. How am I doing on time? Okay. That's the meat and potatoes. Okay, awesome. That's the meat and potatoes of it.
Okay, I would say what would be one more thing that you say we can't miss?
The Educator Center.
Okay.
So this is going to be your go-to place to check out resources. So when you log on here, which is going to be at the far right-hand side, you're going to find access for remote teaching tips. I think there were some pre-K teachers. This might be a section you want to check out. There's lessons and videos to support fostering literacy for K2. We also have student-facing resources that you can send to your students, and then just like how to get started with Newsela and ready-to-go assignments. So I encourage you to check this out. If there's something that you're struggling with, like just type in the keyword. So I know that a lot of us are using Google Classroom. Let's say that you have a question about it. Just search Google Classroom, and you're going to find a lot of content to support that. So I hope that covers it. Do I have any other questions?